A very special guest joining us in studio right now. We have Tammy Noble here. She is a nurse and she works over at a very interesting location. She works at the Iowa Poison Control Center up in Sioux City, but you are here in town today for a big conference, and we were so glad that you were here because we ran into an incident over at our place a couple weeks ago, and we had an opportunity to have to reach out to the Iowa Poison Control Center, which we did not realize was located in Sioux City, and the amount of expertise that was on the other end of the phone dialing that toll-free number was phenomenal. We had to bring you in to the studio to talk to you about this. And how many people out there knew we had an Iowa Poison Control Center here in the state of Iowa? Tell everybody a little bit about the organization first, and then we're going to tell everybody what happened.
Well, the Poison Center is based out of Sioux City, Iowa, and we're the only poison center in the state, so anytime somebody in the state of Iowa calls the Poison Help phone number, they would reach our Poison Center in Sioux City. And it really doesn't matter where the Poison Center's at. It could be anywhere in the state. Just know that there's going to be some really smart people on the other end of the phone answering the call. And those smart people are nurses and pharmacists that are trained in toxicology.
And what's the most frequent call or question that you'd be asked right now?
You know, most of our calls are about kids, but we do get calls about adults also. Not quite half of our calls are kid calls. So
Kid-related?
Yeah, like kids under the age of 5 that don't know how to read, obviously, so they don't know what's good for them or what's bad for them, so they put things in their mouth. Things like Desitin, diaper rash ointment, silica gel, glow sticks. We get a lot of calls about hydrocortisone cream. Those are pretty common calls.
So they've gotten, you know, underneath the kitchen cupboard or in the bathroom, and they've ingested something, and concerned adults will reach out to you and say, what's my next step?
Yep. And the good thing is, most of the time when it comes to little kids, we can tell you what to do over the phone, and you don't have to go to the doctor, you don't have to go to the hospital. We can treat majority of those calls. I'd say probably 90 to 95% of those calls we can just give you advice over the phone and you can handle it at home.
Okay, now we're talking about, you know, calling for human concerns. What if your dog gets into something? Will you reroute them somewhere else in case that's a concern?
So we do handle animal calls. We're not trained in toxicology for animals. That's a whole separate science.
Okay.
But we have enough knowledge to kind of guide you whether it's something that's going to be okay or something that might be harmful. There's 2 animal poison control centers in the United States. Both of them charge for their services. So sometimes we do recommend consulting with one of them, but then be ready to pay a little bit for their service.
All right, now for those people that might not realize the phone number to get a hold of you in case you do run across a situation that you have some concerns about, because that's what happened to us. We were very concerned about a situation. What number should they call?
Yeah, the number is really easy to remember. It's 1-800-222-1222. And we really recommend that people save that number in their cell phone ahead of time because you're not always at home where you might have that magnet on the fridge and you might still need our help. And we hear lots of times where people Google that number, but when you're panicking as a parent or you've got a chemical in your eye and you can't see very well, it's hard to try to find that phone number to call us. So knowing ahead of time that number is going to be in your phone is really helpful.
And you also have something else that you could add to your phone as well, just by sending a text, right?
Yes. All you have to do is text, the contact number that you text is 797979.
Okay, we can go to the next screen, show it up on the screen here.
And just text the word poison to that number, and you'll get a text message back with a link, and you just click on that link, and you'll come up with that contact, and it'll have the Poison Help logo in it.
In a matter of seconds here, I have it pulled up on the phone here. I'm going to show you guys this here real quick, and it'll pull up like this, and then you just hit this here, and it will add it to your contacts, and then you're good, and then you can just take a look on here. We'll open the contact list, and then there's all the information, and it'll be at your fingertips. So it's that simple to get something like this on your phone. It's on my phone right now.
Good.
It's not going anywhere because we had a situation a couple weeks ago. We thought it would be brilliant, Jackie. Elephant ears. Everybody knows those gigantic plants that are in your yard. Take a look at some of the pictures here. They really came up good this year, but it comes at a time of year where you have to cut them down, and then you got to dig the bulbs up. So the first thing you want to do is when it gets cold, you want to come down. So show the elephant ear pictures, please. And and we should be good. Show you what they look like. They were just huge elephant ears in our area. There we go. So big old plants. Couldn't click on through these here. You can see what the weather did to them, because that's the first indication that it's time to cut them down. So we thought it would be a brilliant idea, Jackie. Instead of trying to get a saw or something like that, or a knife down there, we have a weed whacker that has the hard blades on it. So we're going to take the weed whacker when that is the situation, and we're going to just cut them right off at the ground level. And then we'll go back, there it is, and we'll cut it right off there, and then we'll just get rid of the rest of the leaves, and then we'll dig up the bulbs. That was the game plan. That's what it looked like afterwards. So it did work rather well, but at the same time, it put a mist of debris in the air. And we were wearing gloves and goggles, thankfully, but this is what it did to the clothing. But every portion of exposed skin that we had started burning like I was on fire.
Yeah.
I've never run through that. I've never experienced that before, and I didn't know that was a possibility. And it pitted my skin. It turned white spots all over my skin, and it gradually got worse and worse as I was only out there for maybe 10 minutes. But those just grew over time. And so immediately we gave your number a call, and the person on the other end, because I was a little concerned, and they calmed us down, and we went out there. But thank you for doing that. But that's not the only thing that we should be aware of this time of year, right?
Yeah, there's lots of hazards, and something as simple as a plant that you might think.
So what happened in that scenario? If I was calling you and I said I was weed whacking my elephant plant and my skin is burning, what would I hear on the other side?
Our first scenario would be we would want to get the chemical from the plant. The juice of the plant has the chemical in it, and when it contacts the skin or your eye, or if you bite into it or chew on the plant, like if you're a little child, that chemical gets released, and that's very irritating. So you want to rinse it off your skin. So I'm guessing they probably had you
jump in the shower.
Yeah.
Jump in to get their clothes off, jump in the shower, but they said I did not need to go to the hospital. That was my main concern. And I said, has this happened before? And the biggest thing was, yes, this happens a lot. People don't realize that these plants have this kind of effect on people.
And there's other plants that even sometimes just the contact with the plant, and then if you have sunlight with it, a UV light, and if you're sweating like in the summertime, the combination of the three can cause really bad blistering type reactions.
So we normally think of like poison ivy.
Yeah.
Or now elephant ears, but what are some other plants that kind of fit into this that maybe we don't realize if we are kind of getting rid of dead things right now?
Yeah, and so there's the elephant ear, a lot of your bulbs, so even like tulip bulbs and sometimes can do that if you handle them enough, but you just have to be careful. Just try to take precautions, and you're lucky that you wore goggles so that you didn't have the chemical get in your eye, because otherwise there would have been another
layer to it.
Yes, yes.
And would that be the same situation of like rinsing out your eyes as much as possible?
Rinse your eyes, and we always recommend when there's chemicals in the eyes, rinse for at least 15 minutes. A lot of times people just splash water in their eyes for a couple of minutes, or even 5-10 seconds. We really recommend the longer you rinse the eye, the better. The more chemical you're going to get out, and the less chance that there's going to be damage to the eyes.
But you wouldn't think. It just looks like lettuce is what it looks like, and it just splattered up, and it really did that kind of damage. Now there's other plants like lily of the valley.
Lily of the valley
is another one. The little bells.
Yeah. The plant of the lily of the valley is, I'm trying to think of how to describe it best. It has a chemical in it that is dangerous for the heart. But sometimes the juice, they say even if you take the flowers and put the flowers in a vase and the child drinks the water from the flowers, that could be enough to be harmful that the child might have to go to the emergency room
So
for.
Is there something we can look at or know so that we don't have to do the emergency call to you guys and panic on the phone, that we're like, okay, I'm going to look at these items and know that
the best thing is probably knowing ahead of time what your plant is, and then looking to see which ones are harmful, and knowing what parts of the plant are harmful is the best thing to do.
So kind of do your research of knowing what you're taking down, as opposed to just whacking it down, do a little research.
Yeah, and we've had people do the same thing with poison ivy, but instead they try to just burn it, and even the smoke from burning poison ivy can be enough to, if that gets on your skin or brushes past you, that can cause the rash that you
Or
see
just
with
make
poison
sure
ivy.
you're covered. So make sure
Correct.
gloves, long sleeves,
yeah.
Eye protection.
Wear your protection.
You
Make sure
wouldn't
you're
think of
protected.
this in some really common plants, so don't go out there with a weed whacker, folks, and just start whacking your weeds
Yeah.
down or your plants down, because it's not
Yeah.
really a good idea.
Yeah.
All right,
yeah.
now,
And houseplants, there's a couple of houseplants that have that chemical in it, like philodendron and Dieffenbachia, which are very common houseplants, contain that same oxalate crystal. So when kids pull the leaves off and chew on them, when they're just starting to walk and toddle,
those are the ones with the big ears, yeah.
they can get that chemical released in their mouth and get that burning sensation and the irritation.
What should you do for your mouth? Obviously, you said jump in the shower for skin
Yeah.
and rinse out the
So
eyes. What would you do
what
if it's in
we
your
would
mouth?
recommend is wiping the mouth out,
Yeah.
and then having them drink something, because sometimes that the chemical is in their throat.
Right.
So we don't want that irritation or swelling in the throat. Obviously, for a child, that's even more significant for an adult. So we want to dilute it and rinse it down into the stomach where it's better tolerated. And then usually the Poison Center will call back in an hour and check and make
Just
sure
check.
that the child's able to swallow and not drooling more than usual and
Okay.
those types of things.
Tammy, thank you so much
Yeah.
for coming in. Now, people, again, in case anything happens, it's not a big deal to call you guys, because you guys are so knowledgeable about what goes on. So, again, give everybody the number here.
Yeah,
for the
we're
Iowa Poison
only a
Center.
phone call away.
That's right.
The phone number is 1-800-222-1222, and there's nurses and pharmacists who will help you in your situation.
Is that around the clock?
Round the clock, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, even on holidays.
That is a great service that is offered, and thank you so much
Thank
for
you.
everything that you do.
Yeah.
Appreciate it. How about that, folks?
There you go. Learning something
We
this
have
morning.
our own center right here in the state of Iowa, and boy, they do outstanding work. We will be right back.